Welcome to Vision Helpdesk video tutorials. Today I'm going to show you how to install Vision Helpdesk on Windows Server. I've got set up on trial server here. Now first thing you'll be doing is creating a free trial order for the download version. So let's just go to from our website the free trial option. Now here we'll select the download license and select the product that we want to install. Now this is the license domain that we need to add here, and this is the domain on which we'll be installing Vision Helpdesk. So if you don't have any domain name that is live on internet, you can simply create a local domain that will reside on your Windows server, and you can use that too. So here I'm going to use this domain. This is something that is not registered. Okay, now I'll just order the trial here. Now once you order the 30 days trial, you will receive the welcome email with the login details to our billing area, where you can download the setup and you can install that setup on your Windows server. So this is the billing area that you'll be provided with the login for this. It's secure.visionhelpdesk.com. Now then you have to go to this services area, my services. And now here we have our order that we placed. So vhdesk.local, click on this product here, and here in the download tabs you can download the Vision Helpdesk zip for different PHP versions. So based on the PHP version that you're going to install on your Windows server, or that's already present on your Windows server, you can download the respective Vision Helpdesk setup file. So in my case, I'm going to install the PHP version 5.6. So I've already downloaded this to my desktop here. Now once you've downloaded that, the next step to do is you must have the IIS server installed on your Windows server. In this case, I've already set up the IIS server. And here I'm going to add one new site. Now this Vision Helpdesk license cannot be installed on IP address or the local host. You will need to set up this domain on your etc host file so that this can be resolved locally and that can be used here. Now I'll be uploading the setup files for Vision Helpdesk to this area, this particular folder. Alright, my website is added. Now I'm going to show you how we can add the local domain entry to the etc host files. You have to go to C drive and Windows. Next you have System32 and then drivers, etc folder, and you have this host file. Now we will simply drag this host file to desktop, and let's try to modify this file. You can open with Notepad, and now here you can see I've already added an entry that vhdesk.local points to the IP address, local IP address. So this will allow me to use this domain name for my installation. So once you've added this entry to your host file, you need to move that host file to the same area where it was previously. Now once you do that, you can verify if your domain name is working, the domain name that we've created now. We'll go to this vhdesk.local, and if you run that and if you see this page, that means your server is working and the website that you've created is working properly. Now the next thing we are going to do is install. Now we will be requiring PHP, MySQL and Zend loader. So I'm going to show you how we can install that. Now we have our web server or IIS ready, and next thing we have is we'll have to install the web app installer for Microsoft. Now normally you should see this web platform installer here, or otherwise you can simply download it from web. If you go to this website here, it's freely available and you can download that and install. Once you install that should be available in your IIS here, and we'll be running this platform here. Now this will allow us to install PHP, MySQL. Let's search for PHP first. Now I'll select the PHP 5.6 version. And click on install. Now this will install the PHP 5.6 and also it will install the PHP manager for IIS. Now once we have installed this and everything looks good here, we click finish here. The next thing we'll be installing is MySQL. I'll install this 5.5. Now since I already had MySQL installed and I am simply reinstalling this, so this was a previous password that I already had this here. You can set up the root password in your case. Now while we are installing MySQL, we can also copy the Vision Helpdesk setup file that we've already downloaded. So here we have the setup we have downloaded from our billing area, and we'll be copying this files under the upload folder to the path that we created for our website on IIS. This was a path. Now I've already copied the files here. Now we have to run this setup here, and if you see this text here when you run this setup, that means you don't have the Zend loader installed on the server. So before we start with the setup, we'll be installing the Zend loader. Now let's go back to the MySQL. Now since I had already this MySQL installed and I was reinstalling that, you might see error similar to this, but if you're installing fresh, that won't be the case for you. But even though this MySQL is running for me, it's just the way this Windows works. Okay, now just verify if we have the MySQL working. You go to this command prompt, and here it will ask you the password that you have set up when installing MySQL. This is the root password. Alright, so this is working for me. Now we'll be installing the Zend loader. We have set up some instructions to install Zend loader. It's a decryptor. We have this how to install Zend loader option here. You'll have to find a suitable file for Zend loader depending upon the PHP version that you're installing on your Windows server. Now this will give you the link to where you can download the Zend loader. It's a free tool. And now I've already downloaded this setup for Zend loader. You should see something like this: Zend loader PHP 5.6 for Windows. And we're mainly interested in this Zend loader.dll file. Now we'll go to the PHP installation. And here we have our PHP 5.6, and we'll be modifying the configuration file for PHP. So this PHP ini file now, first thing we have to find out is the extension folder. Now this is the extension folder where we'll be adding the Zend loader file. Now we copy the file Zend loader here. To this extension folder for PHP 5.6. Now that is zendloader.dll here. And now to this PHP ini file, we'll be adding one simple line. This is case sensitive, so you need to type in the correct file name, Zend loader. And there are some other variables for PHP, we'll modify them. By default, we have this short open tag off. We need to make it on. And also, we'll make some other variables modification, like memory. By default, we have this 128 MB for Windows Server. We'll be changing this to minimum 5 and 2. And there are some other variables like max input time. We will change this to something 600. And there's another one, that is max execution time. If you see this column here, that means it's commented. We can change this. So this is something we may activate. Alright, now we have made the changes for PHP ini file. We will simply save this file to the same folder. Now we have done with the configuration of PHP. Now similarly, we will be modifying the ini file for MySQL. There are a couple of changes that we need to make before we start installation. So here in this MySQL folder, we have this my.cnf file. Just open this. And now here you have to modify the SQL mode. By default, there's a strict mode enabled on this Windows Server MySQL installation. We will just simply comment this SQL mode line. rest everything is good. We will save this file. And now once we make the changes to MySQL, this my.cnf file, we will be restarting the service to make sure that the changes are now. Here we'll go to administrative tools and then services. Here we should search for MySQL and we'll restart this. Alright, we have this restarted. Now that we've already set up the Zend loader, now we can check this and refresh here. Now once you've set up the Zend loader, you should see this setup page here, and now we have PHP and MySQL, and also we have installed the Zend loader. Now it's time to create a database. We go to the command prompt for MySQL. I'll create one database. Now if you want, you can also create a new user, or you can simply use the root user. I'll be using this root user here. And the database that we recently created. Now once you fill up this form, and there's one slight recommendation, you should use the local IP here instead of using localhost. This will slightly speed up your execution of queries in case of Windows normally. And now if you hit this same error like config.php is not writable, you just need to go to the files that we have set up. Now here we have this config file. We'll make sure that this file is writable. We'll allow the write access to the IIS user and the user login. Similarly, there are other folders for which we need to give the write access, like attachment folder. And then download folder. There's one more file under the console, pipe.php. Hopefully we should be good now. Alright, so if everything goes good, you should be having this installation information. You can copy this to Notepad. So these are your admin login details for our software. This is the client portal URL, and this is the staff or the manage portal URL where you can manage the staff login and you can modify the administration settings for the Vision Helpdesk. Now we can remove this set of file, or we can simply rename this set of file in order to make this working. Here we will just rename the set of file. And then simply refresh. Alright, now we have this staff portal ready, and we'll use this login here. Alright, so we have installed this software here. And the client portal that can be here. So here you have the client portal and the staff portal. There are a few tweaks that we need to add in order to modify the logo, or once we upload some file, some modification needs to be done on the Windows server. Now here we have an option to add the MIME types in order to allow the logo file that we'll be uploading. We'll go to this MIME type, and here we'll add .tmp. Now once you have done this, you'll be able to add or modify the logo from the settings section here. We'll recommend to use Google Chrome or Firefox or maybe even Safari for this. IE is not recommended for a staff portal. Now here you can modify the logo for the client portal, and similarly you can modify the logo for managed portal here. Alright, so that's how we can install Vision Helpdesk on a Windows server. Thank you very much.